Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session today for the Next Gen Nitrogen Challenge. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're tuning in across the country. We're really excited to share about this important and impactful project today. We'd like to start by thanking our challenge partners who make opportunities like this possible. So, of course, our main partner, the Ontario Soil Network, for this challenge, and it's sponsored by the RBC Foundation and Farm Credit Canada. Next slide, Nisha. So with gratitude and respect, we acknowledge that the lands on which we operate are the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. Personally, I acknowledge that the land on which I gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. If you feel so inclined, please drop your land acknowledgement in the chat as well. Next slide, Nisha. So we'll go over the agenda quickly here. We have our welcoming remarks and introductions. Following that, we'll talk a little bit about our program partners. We'll dive into the main content today, which is our Next Gen Nitrogen Challenge overview. Following that, we'll briefly discuss the eligibility and evaluation criteria for this challenge. We'll go over the review process as well as some application tips that we can provide. And then the final 30 minutes of this scheduled session today will be for questions and answers with everyone in attendance. So if at any point you do have any questions, please feel free to use the question function within the webinar today. And so our speakers, I'm Shannon. I work here at Foresight Canada as the manager of carbon, and I'm joined here by Lorraine with the Ontario Soil Network. Lorraine is the research and demonstration coordinator with the Ontario Soil Network. She has been working with the OSN since April and leads their applied research programming. She has a strong passion for sustainable agriculture, working with growers and leveraging technology and innovation to improve on-farm sustainability and profitability. And we'll hear from Lorraine shortly. So a little bit about Foresight is our purpose is to help the world do more with less sustainably. And our mission is to connect industry with the world's best clean technologies. So one of the ways we do that is to work with industry to help understand their needs and connect them with the technologies and solutions to help them meet urgent climate targets through our industry challenge platform. This reverse pitch format ensures that innovation is market-driven and ready for adoption. And so we get to the challenge, which we're really excited about. The Ontario Soil Network is seeking agtech solutions to optimize nitrogen efficiency and leverage organic nitrogen pools to improve profitability, soil health, and sustainability on Ontario farms. This program is funded with support from the RBC Foundation and Farm Credit Canada. And a little bit about Farm Credit Canada. They're Canada's largest lender to agriculture and agri-food. They provide financing and non-financing services to over 100,000 customers across the country. SCC's mandate is to support agriculture and agri-food, and their aspiration is to help the industry succeed as a global leader in food security and sustainable food production by driving innovation and being a catalyst for value creation in the ecosystem. And a little bit about the RBC Foundation. In 2023, RBC launched Ideas for People and Planet, which outlines 3 pressing societal issues: urgent environmental crises, a rapidly changing workforce, and growing inequalities. Alongside these, RBC set key ambitions to address them, supporting the transition to a net zero economy, equipping people with the skills for a thriving future, and driving more equitable opportunities for prosperity in our communities. Through this initiative, the RBC Foundation has been able to sponsor our challenge today, focused on supporting sustainable agriculture in Canada. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Lorraine to talk a little bit about OSN and the challenge.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to see everyone. So a little bit about the OSN. So we are a nonprofit, and we're a farmer-led network focusing on bringing farmers together to be able to work together to adopt and promote practical and proven approaches to improving soil health and on-farm profitability. So yeah, we're a peer-to-peer network of farmers, agronomists, researchers, and industry members across Southern Ontario. We have members that range from Ottawa, Ontario, all the way down to Windsor. And we currently have more than 130 farmers in our network. And we are actively recruiting for more for our 2025 network challenge. At the OSN, our mission is to empower farmers to adopt to adopt new technologies and to promote the long-term adoption of BMPs through strong communities and collaborations. So again, providing that space for farmers to bounce ideas off one another, and to see what has worked in the past for others and what hasn't worked and maybe why it hasn't worked. To be able to build confidence for farmers trying new things that somebody else has tried it before and it didn't work, and kind of being able to have next steps on how to adopt new practices. So yeah, the OSN, we really lean on that farmers learn best from farmers idea. And yeah, so the background of this challenge, if you could skip to the next slide. So yeah, looking at the next gen nitrogen challenge. So focusing on nitrogen. So nitrogen is an essential nutrient for plant growth and crop yield. And nitrogen fertilizer is going to be a really important piece in that puzzle to increasing and maintaining our crop yields. But with that comes with its own set of challenges. So this um, sorry. And then currently, nitrogen use efficiency is quite low. Research suggests that about half of the nitrogen that farmers apply actually is being effectively used by the crop. And this lack of efficiency can result in over-application of fertilizers in some cases, which can result in increased greenhouse gas emissions as well as higher costs for farmers. So looking at ways to kind of improve that efficiency through ag technologies. So why apply? So the next slide, please. So this challenge will present the winning technology a unique opportunity to collaborate directly with us at the OSN. So we are hoping to bring high quality partnerships to the winning technology in order to build your partnerships with farmers and other stakeholders in the province. Also, we'll be able to provide the opportunity to pilot the technology on farms in Southern Ontario. And like I mentioned, we have growers and farmer partners across the province, so various soil types and climates and different factors. So depending on what the technology is looking for to have an effective pilot project, we likely have a grower in our network who can kind of satisfy those requirements. We also offer some third-party assessments. So we have access to the ADOPT model, which is a peer-reviewed model that assesses the time and amount of peak uptake for a new technology. So we're able to provide that to the technology as well as an agronomic assessment. So this kind of pulls on that farmer-led feasibility of the technology where, I'll work with the farmer to create a report of how did the technology work on their farm? What were some of the strengths, weaknesses, and maybe how does that look fitting into the crop rotation? And then finally, bringing industry recognition to the technology. So the technology will be offered the opportunity to feature on our podcast, Coffees and Combines, which currently has just under 400 listens. So we would love to bring the new technology onto the podcast to talk a little bit more about the technology and kind of gain that exposure, as well as be featured at a conference. And I do apologize, we don't have the details completely ironed out for this. But yeah, the opportunity to speak and be featured at a conference or an event of some sort, and more details will follow. And then next slide, please. So finally, looking at what a successful solution will look like. So looking at being able to enhance data-based decision-making regarding nitrogen, timing, and rates so that we can bring more value to soil health practices by leveraging the sources of organic nitrogen. So we know a lot of different soil health practices can increase our naturally occurring nitrogen in the soil, and how can we leverage that more effectively through technologies. Also looking for the technology to be a cost-effective way and easily adaptable for the average field crop grower in Ontario. So looking at about approximately 1,000 acres is kind of like the average that we're striving for. So a technology that could be relatively easily adopted for most people would be the best. In terms of what the actual technology will look like, uh, that's kind of up to you all. It could be a brand new technology, it could be a retrofit for something that's currently used, or it could be an intelligence-based solution that allows for the, improved application of nitrogen. As long as you're able to tie your technology and the solution back to like how does it apply to improving timing and rates for nitrogen? How does it bring value to the soil health practices, and how is it going to be adopted by the average field crop grower in Ontario? And with that, I'm going to hand it back to you, Shannon.
Thank you, Lorraine. So we're just going to go over the key dates for this challenge. So our challenge officially launched on November 18th. And you're all here today, so you know that our informational webinar is today, December 5th. The submission window closes January 17th at 11:59 Pacific time. We extended out the application window because we want you all to take time off during the holidays and rest and relax. So we have until January 17th at 11:59 Pacific time to submit. The evaluation period will follow beginning on January 18th, all the way out till mid-February 2025. The finalists will be contacted to schedule their pitch presentations mid to late February 2025, and then the final winner will be announced in early March 2025. And next slide, please. So a little bit more on the eligibility criteria. As Lorraine mentioned, the scalability is really important here. So you must be able to scale the technology for an average crop operation in Ontario, which is 1,000 acres. Thank you, Nisha.
Am I on the right slide? I'm sorry.
Oh, go back one more. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Profitability, so demonstrate a pathway to greater profitability for the farmer. And then TRL is really important here. So be at a technology readiness level between 5 and 8. And then next slide, Nisha. So the application review process, when that window closes, which is January 17th, 11:59 Pacific time, Foresight will then do an eligibility screening to confirm that the applications that were received meet our requirements. Once we do that initial screening, we will be passing along all of the applications to the committee review panel. We have 5 experts marked to support on that review process. Following that, we will be selecting the finalists who will be contacted to pitch to this committee panel. We will be scheduling the pitch session for all those finalists to do their pitches to the committee. And then following that, the winner will be selected. And next slide, thank you. So application tips. So please be sure that you fulfill the eligibility requirements that we've discussed in the webinar here today. It is all listed on our website as well. Do not wait until the deadline to submit your application. As I mentioned, that's January 17th. If you email us January 17th at 11 p.m., we will not be able to help you. So please submit your application early. And then if you do have any issues, please reach out to us, challenges@foresightcac.com, and we can help you get your application in. For all of the application questions that are looking for qualitative descriptions, please provide as much data evidence that you have available. This is really important. It helps our experts review your application. Use clear language in the technical description of the technology and development plan. So we do have an expert panel. They are familiar with agricultural technologies, but it's really important to make sure that you're clearly identifying what your technology does and building a clear case so that they can give you as many points as possible. And then explain the work done to progress on your technology to date. So having an understanding of the history and how you've been building your technology is really key. And there's a number of application a number of questions within the application that can that relate to this point. Next slide, Nisha. So that is everything that we have prepared today. We went through everything quite fast. We'll move on to our Q&A period. So if you do have any questions, please put them through the Q&A function in the webinar. I noticed we did have one. So will we get a copy of this presentation? Yes, we are recording this presentation, and the deck as well as the recording will be sent to you after the webinar. I see some questions in the chat. So how can we edit our applications? I sent a request to edit. If you can send us an email, challenges@foresightcac.com, that's on the screen there. We can reach out to you one-on-one. You should have been sent a link that you can then go in and edit, but there might have been an issue. So just please reach out to us at challenges@foresightcac.com and we'll help you kind of one-on-one for that. And then Stephen is asking, it sounds like you only want technologies that manage nitrogen, not technologies that add more nitrogen to the soil. Is that correct? Lorraine, can you comment on this question?
Sure. Thanks for your question, Stephen. I think that if you are able to link your technology that does happen to add more nitrogen to the soil, if you're able to link that to improved soil health, improved profitability, improved efficiency in the use of nitrogen, I think that that would be a good technology. So hopefully that answers your question. But yeah, just being able to link it back to kind of those three focus areas.
Thanks, Lorraine. And we have another question. Do you have the scoring matrix of the challenge? Yes, we do have a scoring matrix for the challenge. I'll confirm that we can share that. It'll be in the follow-up email. From Muradad, is there any information about the historical usage of nutrients like nitrogen available in target areas? Lorraine, are you aware of any historical usage information there?
Yeah, I don't have that on hand, but we can definitely pull some information on that. Yeah, that's
Okay, so we'll note that question down and then we can follow up in the post-event email with an answer there.
I think, maybe I'll just add like looking at maybe the typical crop rotation in Southern Ontario, like we're looking at, corn and wheat, which are both crops that do rely heavily on nitrogen fertilizers. So there's definitely a demand for nitrogen fertilizers in order to maintain those crop yields. So I don't have numbers, but definitely historically fairly high reliance on nitrogen fertilizers to keep and maintain crop yields.
Great, thank you, Lorraine. From David, I understand there will only be one winner. Yes, there will only be one winner for this. Is that true, Lorraine?
Yeah.
What is the mechanism to realize the pilot and field demonstration? Can you speak to that, Lorraine?
Yeah, I think that so of course the pilot project is going to look very different depending on the technology that wins. So we're committed to working with the technology to create a pilot that will work best to be able to demonstrate the technology. We have a lot of farmers in our network, and this is a highly requested and very interested field for a lot of our growers. So we do have a lot of farmers who are interested in the pilot project. So yeah, I think that answers the question. If not, please feel free to ask more clarifying questions.
Thanks. Another question from Stephen. So is this limited to Ontario-based companies, or can they be from anywhere in Canada?
Mm-hmm. So the competition is not limited to Ontario-based companies, but it is important that the applications reflect how the technology will be relevant in the context of Ontario. So you don't have to necessarily be developed and based in Ontario, but make sure you really emphasize how is it going to be applicable in Ontario and ensure that you have, the context needed to understand like what limitations are specific to Ontario and that sort of thing.
But I don't see any other questions currently, so I'll give it another minute or so for people. If you do have any other questions, please let us know. We got one more. Are any of the farmers on the review panel?
Yeah, we have a review panel. primarily based of farmers. So we really the farmers help us kind of decide the topic areas through in the pain points for the innovation challenge. So this one's nitrogen management, and then they're also very heavily involved in deciding the winning technology. So that's why really ensuring that you're talking about the practicability I can't say that word right now. The practicability. Okay, you guys know what I mean. And the economic kind of component of the technologies will be really important as the farmers will be looking through the applications.
Is there funding with this program to cover some of the costs linked with the pilot project?
Yeah, so yeah, I I think so. Sorry, I don't want to speak too soon on that one. The pilot projects will be okay. Maybe I don't want to answer that one right now because I don't know for 100% sure. Let me get back to you with that. Anissa, maybe you're able to. I see you opening up. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to jump in. We do have $50,000 to put towards the pilot project.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anissa.
So in addition to being partnered with a pilot, our partner farmer, you'll have access to the funding as well.
From Tom, we have what recognition or reward for the winner?
Hi, Tom. Nice to hear from you. The podcast and then also the featured at the conference. And again, this is kind of where we don't have that fully confirmed which conference yet, but we'll be showcased at some sort of conference or event and be able to speak and kind of interact with farmers and stuff in the industry.
You, Lorraine. We finished that one. What is the expected time from funding to field trials? Is this only a short-term project?
Yeah, the pilot project is a 1 year project at this point, so pretty quick. One growing season, which will be in 2025. So yeah.
Thank you. And then we have, so the idea is offering a plan and the right amount of nutrients, including nitrogen, to maximize crop yield.
The idea is to be able to more efficiently use the nitrogen that is there, and how does that link to soil health practices? So really tying in nitrogen and the soil health practices to be able to not necessarily always maximize crop yields, but also to be able to bring the most like profitable solution to farmers. Yeah, that is also reasonable and to implement on the average farm.
Great. We are caught up on questions, so again, I'll give it a minute or two to see if any more come through. Oh, do you have a list or pool of farmers interested that we could interview or present the project to as we prepare our application?
I don't know if we're able to set up presentations prior to the application. I can double check on that one. That's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe we can get back to you on that one for sure.
Yeah, we'll get back to you, David. I'm not sure if that's something that we can facilitate the way the challenge is laid out. That might create an unfair balance for people. So we'll get back to you on that question. I've noted it down.
There will be a short list of applications too that will be able to pitch their ideas to the panel, which will have farmers on it too. So, and then that presentation will be a little bit more interactive, where there'll be like a Q&A session as well. So.
Very active audience today. It's great.
Yeah, it's great.
Just give it one more minute, see if any last minute questions come through. Oh, we got another one. Um, so Merdad is identifying that their offering depends on the available data for the challenge. So asking for additional resources that can help them understand the data required for this. I'm not sure if we can answer that live, but I'll note that down for our follow-up email. Miriam's asking, do we need to reduce the amount of nitrogen used in the solution? So,
Oh yeah, sorry. I think that again, it kind of don't get too focused on always reducing rate, but how can we use the nitrogen more efficiently? So if you're able to demonstrate an improved efficiency in the use of nitrogen, that's just I think just as valuable. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
and then just I think a note from David, because their technology depends on current infrastructure at the farm. If we could explain what we do and require at the farm, maybe we could shortlist some of the potential testers and adopters. We'll get back to you, David. Again, I don't know if our process will allow for what you're requesting, but we might be able to identify a list of current infrastructure on farms broadly that could help support your application.
Yeah, and I think that if you kind of in your application discuss what technology you need. So say you need like a specific type of sprayer in order to use your technology, state that in your application and people on the panel will know if that is going to be a common thing to have or not in Ontario. And you might even know that too. So if it's, relatively common and you would maybe most people would have it or be able to adopt it, just kind of like emphasize that in your application as well.
We have a question from Carl. So, would you be able to provide links to data that can be used as a baseline for yield, nitrogen use, and costs?
Yeah, I think that's similar to the question from before. So yeah, we can do that in the follow-up email.
Yeah, in the follow-up email, we'll pull together some resources because this seems to be a common theme here that we can use as kind of a baseline understanding for everyone. Miriam's asking if we can have more than one application solution. Anissa, I'm going to lean on you for this, but I think the answer is no. We're just looking for one application per technology solution.
Um, yes. Unless like you can have basically one technology per company is typically how we run it. And I will just note that to ensure a fair competition, we can't set up one-on-one interviews or make introductions to any farmers specifically, or also who will be on the panel. So just to clear that up now.
Thanks, Anissa. And then Nicole's asking, what defines this technology? Is it equipment and testing for farmers?
If I'm understanding the question, like the actual technology itself it's very open. So like I mentioned, it can be, like a retrofit, brand new technology, intelligence-based solution, like anything is kind of on the table. As long as you're able to link it to, improved soil health, improved nitrogen use efficiency, and improved on-farm profitability. So as long as you can link your technology and the outcomes from your technology to those key areas, yeah, it should qualify.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I'd just make sure you look through what our eligibility criteria is for this, and if your solution fits within that eligibility criteria, then you're likely a good applicant for this challenge. We've caught up on all of our questions again. So again, I'll leave it open for one more minute, see if there's any last minute questions. Very active audience. It's very nice. Miriam, well, I'll look through the challenge emails. She's just asking about editing the application that they submitted. So I'll look through the challenge emails and see if we can support you one-on-one for that. Just make sure if we don't hear from you to reach out to challenges@foresightcac.com. Great. I don't see anything else coming through, so we really appreciate everyone's time today. If you do have any additional questions, please reach out at any time to challenges@forsatecac.com. The challenge is open until January 17th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time, so please get your applications in early. And we're looking forward to progressing this challenge and hearing from you about all of your solutions. Finally, I'd just like to thank our partners again, the RBC Foundation, Farm Credit Canada, and of course, the Ontario Soil Network.
Thanks, everyone. Lots of great questions. Really excited to seeing your technologies.